जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा गिरिधारी राधे जय राधा रास बिहारी राधे जय राधा गोविंद राधे जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय नित्य गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव जय प्रभुपाद की जय हो पंच तत्व की जय हो सर गोस्वामी की जय हो बिकॉज ऑफ पुरुषोत्तम मास चल रहा है तो आज मैं चौराष्टकम करूंगी जो सब डिवोटी का बहुत ही फेवरेट है तो मैं चौराष्टकम कर रही हूँ बाय बिल्व मंगल ठाकुर जी की जय हो व्रजे प्रसिद्धं नवनीत चौरम व्रजे प्रसिद्धं नवनीत चौरम गोपांगनानां चदुकूल चौरम गोपांगनानां चदुकूल चौरम अनेक जन्मार्जित पाप चौरम अनेक जन्मार्जित पाप चौरम चौराग्रगण्यं पुरुषं नमामि चौराग्रगण्यं पुरुषं नमामि श्रीराधिकाय हृदयस्य चौरं श्रीराधिकाय हृदयस्य चौरं नवाम्बुदां श्यामलकान्तिचौरं पदाश्रितानां समस्तचौरं चौराग्रगण्यं पुरुषं नमामि अकिञ्चनीकृत्य पदाश्रितं यः करोति भिक्षुं पतिगेहहीनं केनाप्यहो भीषणचौरयित्रे द्रष्टाश्रुतो वा न जगत्त्रयेऽपि यदीयनामापि हरत्यशेषं गिरिप्रसारन् अपि पापराशिन् आश्चर्यरूपो ननु चौरयित्रे द्रष्टाश्रुतो वा न मया कदापि धनं च मानं च तथेन्द्रियाणि प्राणाश्च हेत्वा मम सर्वमेव पलायसे कृतोऽध्याचौरा त्वं भक्तिदाम्नासि मया निरुद्ध छिन्नसि घोरं यमपाशबन्धं भिन्नसि भीमं भवपाशबन्धं छिन्नसि सर्वस्य समस्तबन्धं नैवात्मनो भक्त कृतं तु बन्धम् मनमानसे तामशराशि घोरे कारागृहे दुःखमये निबद्ध लभस्य हेचोर हरे चिराय त्वचौर्यदोषो चित्तेव दण्डम् व्रजे प्रसिद्धं नवनीतचौरं गोपाङ्गनानां चदुकूलचौरम् अनेकजन्मार्जितपापचौरं चौराग्रगण्यं पुरुषं नमामि चौराग्रगण्यं पुरुषं नमामि हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कारागृहे वसि सदा हृदये मदीये मदभक्तिपाश दृढबन्धन निश्चल सन् त्वां कृष्ण हे प्रलयकोटि शतान्तरेऽपि सर्वस्य चौरहृदया नहि मोचयामि सर्वस्य चौरहृदया नहि मोचयामि। श्री प्रभुपाद की जय हो। श्री बिल्व मंगल ठाकुर जी की जय हो। चौराष्टकम की जय हो। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। थैंक यू प्रभु जी फॉर सो वंडरफुल सेवा। हरे कृष्णा।
Very beautiful, Lakshmataji. I liked it very much. Beautiful, really. And the tune in which you sang, so nice. Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome back, everyone. So we'll offer our prayers, seeking mercy and blessings from our Guru Parampara, 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya चक्षुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजन सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादा सगण ललिता श्री विशाखावितंश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कंचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम पदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरतिशे नमः। O most beneficent incarnation, you are Krishna himself, appearing as Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You have assumed the golden complexion of Srimati Radharani, and you are widely distributing pure love of Krishna. I offer respectful obeisance unto you. Krishna Varnam Pisha Krishnam Sangopangostraparshudam Yagnai Sankirtana Praye Yajanti Sumedasaham. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the Godhead, who constantly sings the names of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associate servants, weapons, and confidential companions. Nana Sastra Vicharnaika Nipunau Shadadharma Samstapakau Lokanam Hitakarinau Tribhuane Manyau Sharanyakarau Radha Krishna Padarvinda Bhajana Anandena Mattalikau Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugau Shri Jiva Gopalakau. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, named Shri Rupa Goswami, Shri Sanatana Goswami, Shri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Shri Raghunath Das Goswami, Shri Jiva Goswami, and Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizing and studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus, they are honored all over the 3 worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Shri Radha and Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Narom Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Shri Prabhupada, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Govindam Adi Purusham Tamam Bhajami. Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances for Shri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Welcome back. So last week we did, that was the inauguration, auspicious inauguration, and we sought the mercy of our Guru Parampara. So today we actually begin the course, So before I begin lesson 2, so we will do lesson 2 and 3. We'll try in one session. Normally we do 2 sessions, So quite a few slides to go through that. So let us hear recapping some of the highlights of the inauguration class, particularly those questions that we'll be getting the answers to that, and some broad preview. All right, Hare Krishna. And I'll show some slide also to help whoever is doing the recapping.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Now we have started this 48th lesson, Jaiva Dharma. Jaiva Dharma means the eternal function of the soul. What is the eternal function of the soul, which is totally spiritual? Then we heard about a brief biography of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, who appeared in 1838 and disappeared in 1914. He wrote many authorized spiritual books, more than 100 of them, and he is the one who discovered the lost place of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance in Mayapur Dham. Then besides his books, there are many poems and songs written by him in glorification of the Supreme Lord. And he is considered as the 7th Goswami after the 6th Goswami of Vrindavan. In 1914, on the Tirobhav Tithi, that is the disappearance day of Gadadhar Pandita, Bhakti Vinod Thakur entered the eternal pastimes of the Gaura Leela, and that is Gaura Gadadhar and Radha Madhava. Then in the introductory outline, we learned how Jaiva Dharma, this book was written by Bhakti Vinod Thakur in the year 1893 in Bengali. Later on, it has been translated to many languages. The word Jaiva comes from Jiva or Jivana, meaning one who has life. And it is a philosophical treatise on Gaudiya Vaishnava principles. But this is written in a very fictional format with extensive dialogues between the teacher and the students. And all our doubts will get cleared during the conduct of this class. Here the author elaborates very nicely the philosophies of the fundamental principles of the 3 tattvas, that is the Sambandha, Avideya and the Prayojana. He also explains the Dasamula tattva, the 10 esoteric or the fundamental tenets of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta, and summarizes the elements of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and Ujjala Nilamani in this creation of Bhakti Vinod Thakur. And our course will be basically based on 3 reference books that we have been told. And now a preview of the tentative class schedule, this was given. And here basically in this course, we'll be learning about the fundamentals of the Nitya Dharma, or the transcendental Dharma versus the Naimittika Dharma, or the material or the mundane dharma, which many of the sampradayas, they also practice. Then the Dasamula Tattva, or the 10 fundamental principles of the philosophy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, involving Sambandha, Abhideya and Prayojana, and Nama Tattva, the principle of Harinama, Harinama Sankirtana, what is the importance of Harinama, and this in very great detail we will be learning. And then at the end we will be learning the Rasa Tattva, or the principles of transcendental melody. In the Nitya Dharma, Nitya versus the Naimittika Dharma, we'll be learning about the Jiva's Nitya, or the eternal Dharma, and the Naimittika Dharma, or the temporary Dharma, that will be covered today. And also will be covered the Nitya Dharma of the Jiva, how it is pure, eternal and transcendental. Then in tomorrow, that is Sunday's class, that is tomorrow there is no class due to some commitment of Charu Prabhuji. The next class, one day after, that will be held in this Naimittika Dharma is to be relinquished. This we will learn. And then in the next class, that is the lesson 6, we will learn Vaishnava Dharma is Nitya Dharma. Vaishnava Dharma means the Dharma which is given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, what is described in Srimad Bhagavatam. And we will learn about Vaidhi Bhakti is Nitya Dharma, not Naimittika Dharma. Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, which we have learned. Then Nitya Dharma versus race, caste, all the things will be covered. Then Nitya Dharma's material existence, and Nitya Dharma and Vaishnava behavior, this will be described in detail. And Nitya Dharma's and material science, civilization, then Nitya Dharma and idol worship, and then Nitya Dharma and Sadhana Bhakti, all these things will be covered in very, very great detail. And from lesson 18 onwards, we will learn about the 10 fundamental principles, the Dasamula Tattva, or the Sambandha, Abhideya and Prayojana Tattva, which will be described in very great detail. Then toward the end, we will learn the Prameya, that is the Nama Tattva, the Nama Aparadha. We have learned about this, but more of Nama Aparadha will be covered in this lesson also. And Prameya or Nama Bhasa, that will also be covered. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, I have finished.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. So today's class, I should share my PowerPoints. So, as it's shown in the yellow box, we will begin with lesson 2, and that is where the author is going to upfront tell us what is this Nitya Dharma and what is Naimittika Dharma. As Sharad Prabhuji just summarized, Nitya Dharma is our eternal duty, eternal religion, and Naimittika, that is temporary, and which is on material platform, so this is what we are going to learn. So what I gather here, so in this chapter, it's basically in the introductory chapter, the author introduces us the place. Place is very important, where the story takes place, and the two characters, the principal character, Paramhamsa Premadas Babaji. He is the Paramhamsa, means the topmost renunciant, and is totally engaged in bhajana kriya of the Supreme Lord. So we will hear about his daily routine, how he's engaged, and every day he chants 200,000 names of the holy name, and then every day with great dainya bhav he reads Prema Vivarta that we just did it before we did Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's course, so then while he was about to conclude his daily routine, he meets another sannyasi. Now sannyasi, this sannyasi is actually from a Mayavadi school, impersonalist school, and he came here. So naturally, the curiosity, why did he come here? Apparently, we will learn that he was, he reached the topmost stage in the Sankaracharya line of this Dharma practice, but mostly it is focused on impersonalist aspect of it, and that he was not really satisfied, and then ultimately he happens to meet some Vaishnavas singing in the glories of the Lord and dancing. That really stole his heart, and that made him to move, go to Vrindavan, and then from there he learned about Mayapur Dham also. So that is how he met and this Babaji, and he surrendered himself. So this is what we are going to learn overall. I'm telling you upfront, we are going to be learning, we are going to be introduced all these two characters, principal character and associate character, and also the place, the importance of that place. It's in Navadvipa Dham, Okay, let's get into it now. So this is what we'll first do. This is in chapter 1. And there are, as the Saratpuji told us, there are 40 chapters in this book. And there are these 40 chapters we will try to accomplish in 48 lessons. So this is lesson 2, the soul's eternal Nitya Dharma and temporary Nemitic Dharma. The basic definition and little bit explanation, but we are going to get into it in great detail, okay? And this is a deep philosophy we are going to come across. But this philosophy, in an interesting way, the author, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, presents us in a story format. It's a very interesting way he's presenting such a deep philosophy rather than giving directly. He's giving in a story format, and with these two imaginary participant characters, principal character and associate character. So here in this slide, what you see here is I'll walk you through this lesson 2 from chapter 1. First, the introduction of the place, as I told you. Sri Dodruma village's location and hierarchy in Jambudvip's Bharatavarsha. How this particular place, Godruma village, not Godruma, okay? Godruma. We have to pronounce Sanskrit as clearly as possible, okay? So, and we will see the definition of Godruma village and where it is located. Like I said, it's in a Navadvipa Dhama. So I'll be showing you a geographical location of this place and what is Jambudvipa, what is Bharatvarsha and Darshan, like that. And then we will hear the introduction of the principal character, this very, very elevated personality, Paramhamsa. So there are 4 stages, progressive stages, when one takes sannyas order or the renounces their householder life. So there, these 4 orders, and the Paramhamsa order is the topmost order, and he's very well versed in all the scriptures. And above all, he is a great devotee. And we will also hear, I'll show you what is this Babaji Pranali. Babaji Pranali means what is Babaji line of Vaishnava, it's a bit different than we have in Gaudiya Vaishnava, okay? So he is the principal character, and he is the one who is going to give us the philosophy as the question, as is prompted by questions being asked by this visiting sannyasi, okay? So it's a story format, novel format, but we are going to hear a real philosophy, very, very deep philosophy. And third theme, Babaji so when this sannyasi visits him and pays his very, very humbly pays his obeisances to Babaji, and Babaji equally reciprocated with same Dainya Bhav, with tears flowing in his eyes, and he welcomes this sannyasi, but this sannyasi, as I told you, this is a Mayavadi sannyasi, but he was totally disillusioned by this Mayavadi philosophy. That's why he came there, okay, and humbly surrendering to Babaji. So the question naturally arises in this fourth point. Babaji introduces the sannyasi. He takes first to his guru. Remember, Babaji himself is very, very highly advanced, and yet we are told he has a living guru still. So first and foremost thing he does, he takes this visiting sannyasi to pay their obeisances at his guru. Okay, we will hear about that also. And then Babaji really a very fantastic thing happens here. Amazing thing happens here. As we've been introduced, this visiting sannyasi is from Mayavadi school. Yes, he was disillusioned, but look, Babaji is so advanced, he already knew. Babaji first tells the audience that he himself was Ananga Manjari in Krishna Leela. Not only that, he said that he also reveals that this visiting sannyasi who was in Mayavadi school was also present in Krishna Leela as a Ramana Manjari. So a question then automatically arises, at least it arose in my mind, if he was already in Krishna Leela, how did he get into this Mayavadi school in this lifetime? And that's a really interesting point to think about it. And I want you to think about it, and later on see if you can answer that. Then final point. So this sannyasi begins asking series of questions. The whole book is question and answer format. So we are just being introduced, okay? So he asked some very fundamental questions that were bothering him. And Babaji begins to very categorically answer his questions, very, very in a humbly mood. Both the guru and the disciple, he becomes his disciple later on, that we will hear. And both are in a very Dainya Bhav. Of course, the disciple pays his obeisances, but guru, unlike that we see recent times, sometimes guru even just totally ignores, Here he does not ignore. He himself, with the great Dainya Bhav, pays obeisances to his own disciple. That really touched my heart, Hare Krishna. So with this walkthrough, let's get into it. So there is a hierarchy of this place. Jambudvipa is the where original India was like that all over. There's so many different planetary systems. So in this Jambudvipa, Bharatvarsha, there are 9 different regions in Jambudvipa, 9 different planetary systems. Okay, we will hear that. I'll show you a picture also. So Bharatvarsha, at that time India was like that, so widespread, So the Bharatvarsha is the topmost. That take birth in India, one really must feel very, very fortunate. So in this Bharatvarsha, the Navadvipa Mandala, Navadvipa Dhama is the topmost. And within Navadvipa Dhama, this Sri Godruma Dhama, that is wonderful, most wonderful. And we will hear why. Okay. So this is the map of the universe. And see that there's a Meru mountain of solid gold, which is in the center of the Jambudvipa. In this Jambudvipa, there are 9 regions, and Bharatavarsha that you see here is at the southern tip of that. And whole this Jambudvipa is concentrically covered with different oceans. Okay, immediate ocean is the salt ocean. Look at 800,000 miles wide, and it keeps on increasing. So very, very, very gigantic this universe is there. So the definition of Godruma. Okay, first, where the Godruma is located within this Bharatavarsha. So that is the map of this Navadvipa Dham. There are 9 islands, and the islands are formed because of this river, see, north to south running. There's the Bhagirathi river, another name for Ganges, Ganga. And the branch of that Ganges, Bhagirathi river, goes toward the east. That is where it forms Godrupa Dhruma, Godrupa Dvipa, the island. Right here, that is shown right here. So Simanta Dvipa, this center, there's a Antar Dvipa, Moda Dhruma Dvipa, Rudra Dvipa, Jahanu Dvipa, Ritu Dvipa, Kola Dvipa, and so on like that. There are 9 islands, but the story is going to be focused in this Godruma Dvipa. That is where Babaji's ashram is located. Okay, so what is the definition of this Godruma? Sri Godruma. It's not just a physical place. In fact, that is personified. Each place in the Krishna conscious, they are places, Lord's Dham. So Sri Godruma, Go means cow, but that's not ordinary cow. First, I told you, is situated east of the Bhagirathi river and south of this Jalangi river. This branch of the Ganges is called Jalangi river. And this place is so named because Go means cow, but that's a divine cow, Surabhi cow. And right there, this cow actually worshipping Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu under the shade of a large banyan tree. So in Sanskrit, banyan tree is called Druma. So Go Druma, the Surabhi cow, underneath the shadow of the banyan tree, she is worshipping Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is what the author introduces us, the very divine place. This is where Babaji's ashram is located. And now I'm going to show you the Babaji's ashram. So here this Bharatavarsha, which contains earth, and this within earth, there's the present day India, but after that time India was very, very wide. The whole earth was like full India, And this Godrupa Dvipa is located. So the Godrum village is one corner of this island. And I already told you about the definition of Godrum. Now the Babaji ashram. So here now we are going to be introduced the principal character Babaji and the visiting also we will see that. So here in box 1, this is what you see is Babaji's ashram covered with different vines, very, very serene place, situated in Godruma village, and we are told this Godruma village is non-different from Sri Nandigrama in Vrindavan, okay? And we saw in Prema Vivarta, Navadvipa Dharma is same as Vrindavan, one and the same, okay? Just as there's no difference between Krishna and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that is where Babaji's Bhajana Kutira, Kutira means this hut, that's where Babaji resides. And that all this kunja, that is name is Pradyumna Kunja, thick with vines, where the resident Sri Brahmas Premadas Babaji is located. So his name is Premadas Babaji. What is the Babaji's definition? So I looked it up actually, Babaji is a term, really, a respectable term, generally used kind of loosely, sometimes erroneously also, as sadhus and Vaishnavas who have given up household life. But they are not sannyasis actually. This Babaji Pranali, Babaji tradition is beyond even Varnashram Dharma. So, because sannyasa, when you call, sannyasa is considered like one of the Varnashram ashrama. The 4 Varnas and 4 ashramas, right? Sannyasa ashram is considered that, right? But this Babaji Pranali, they are beyond that. So they don't even wear the typical sannyasa dress. Okay? They don't even wear the Brahmana thread also. But then again, that will form as Varnashram Dharma. What they want to project, that they are beyond even Varnashram Dharma. They are totally engrossed in their bhajana of Sri Krishna. So Babaji term specifically refers to the Vaishnava followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, okay, who have given up all the duties and designations of Varnashrama. These include even the external garb of sannyasa. They don't wear typical sannyasa dresses, okay, and they do not wear sacred Brahmana thread either. And they are totally engaged. Very important point here. They are engaged in this Raganaga Bhakti, Raga Marga. Excuse me. And we know there is a Vaidhi Marga and then the Raga Marga. Raga Marga means those who have a natural inclination towards the Supreme Lord. And when you don't have that, then you have to cultivate that by following the Vedic injunctions under the guidance of the bona fide spiritual master, and then engage your contaminated material bodily senses. That's how you purify. And eventually you come to Raga Marga. We are going to get very deep into that. In fact, very next few lessons, we will see that. Okay, so third point. So second point, Babaji is an initiated disciple. He is a living guru, even though he himself is so advanced. And that disciple, so he's an initiated, his guru himself is also a disciple of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's line of that. A personal associate of Sri Pradyumna Brahmachari. So his guru's name is Pradyumna Brahmachari. And he's going to take this visiting sannyasi, introduced to his guru right there in his guru's ashrama. And his guru's ashram is located again in the same Navadvipa Dharma. In Bhajana Kutira is in the Devapalli across Alakananda and Surya Tila rivers in the temple of Lord Rishimadev. Babaji is so now Babaji is a little bit more introduction. Babaji is very learned in all the scriptures. Every day he chanted the holy names 200,000 times and offered hundreds and hundreds of obeisance to all the Vaishnavas in spite of he being that advanced, he respects all the Vaishnavas. Okay? He maintained his life by madhukari, that means by begging, at the homes of coward people in the village. Village is composed of coward people, and strictly followed the rules of his saintly life. And we will see later actually a little bit more, but I will tell you at that point. And the fourth point, this is his dinacharya, his daily routine. Daily morning and afternoons in his extreme dainya bhav, Babaji would sweetly read with tears in his eyes, rolling from his eyes, this Prema Vivarta he will read. And we saw how Prema Vivarta in really fantastic literature. It is authored by a confidential associate, a childhood associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jagadananda Prabhu. And here, was one of the most confidential associates, Jagadananda Prabhu, and a childhood classmate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that we saw in that course. So now we got introduced to the place, a very divine place. We got introduced to the principal character. Now we are going to hear the introduction of this visiting sannyasi. So Babaji just finished his daily dinacharya, his daily routine, and as he was about to conclude that, he noticed, suddenly he woke up from his deep dhyana and woke up that this particular sannyasi very humbly paying his obeisances at his lotus feet. So just when Babaji had concluded his daily readings of Shri Prema Vivarta, a very austere, this sannyasi was no ordinary person either, very, very highly advanced, very well read. In fact, he was very well versed in the Shadadarshana. I don't know if you are all familiar. Shadadarshana is the six-fold philosophy, the Vedic philosophy. Talks about the Nyaya and so on like that. Purva Mimamsha, Uttar Mimamsha, and so on. Uttar Mimamsha is that Vedanta. So he is very well versed himself and very well traveled, and took part in debates with the other sannyasis, very well organized and everything. So an austere sannyasi offered his obeisances at his feet. Babaji noticed that, and his extreme Dainibhav himself, tears rolling. Why? Because he is seeing. Remember, I told that Babaji himself was Ananga Manjari in Krishna Lila, and this visiting sannyasi was also a Manjari, Ramana Manjari. So he immediately recognized him, even though sannyasi himself didn't know about it. So extreme Dainibhav receives him. He was very glad to meet him again. So this sannyasi is the associate character, a secondary character in the story format of Jaiva Dharma. So this sannyasi is going to ask series of questions, okay? And Babaji is going to answer. So in this question and answer format, we are going to hear very intricate Vaishnava philosophy, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy, teachings that we are going to hear. So the sannyasi belonged to the Mayavadi school, a very learned scholar of not only Vedanta and Upanishads, but also Sankhya. This is the Shadadarshana, Sankhya philosophy, Patanjali yoga system, Nyaya philosophy, Vaisheshika philosophy, and Purva Uttar Mimamsha. Uttar Mimamsha, as I told you, Vedanta. These Mayavadi sannyasis are very fond of studying Vedanta, but their version of Vedanta is quite different, as we learned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu clarifies where the fallacy lies in their philosophy of Vedanta. So here, the sannyasi was very well versed Vedanta, but according to the Mayavadi philosophy, okay? And that's why he was very confused about that, and that's why he's going to ask questions. So he has traveled very extensively to Varanasi, Banaras, today's India, and that is the headquarters of the Mayavadi sannyasis. And other holy Dhamma. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also visited Varanasi there and debated with other scholars. So he himself is a very highly scholarly personality, but he presents himself as an ignorant person, So for 12 years, he had accepted Mayavadi sannyasa. And even that Mayavadi sannyasa, he reached to also Paramhamsa, the topmost stage in the school of Shankaracharya. He had attained the highest Paramhamsa stage of the sannyasa. So obviously the question arises, that arises in my mind, what is he doing here then? If he was so advanced, why is he submitting himself to Babaji, surrender Babaji, the great Vaishnava soul, because Mayavada and Vaishnava, they don't see each other eye to eye, So one day he met Vaishnava. So what happened? How was it so disillusioned? Although he spent so much time and he went topmost level in Mayavadi philosophy, but still within himself, he was not satisfied. This impersonal philosophy. Same thing happened to me actually. 6 years I spent in studying the Vedas and Upanishad, but mostly in Upanishad, the Supreme Lord is mentioned as an impersonal aspect of it, and I was never satisfied with that. I became curious about it. That's how I got into this Krishna conscious movement, So here, I can relate that, how the sannyasi was so much disillusioned by that. So here, it so happened once where he was there, a particular saintly Vaishnava came there and singing the glories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu particularly, and great ecstasy and dancing. And that really touched the heart of this Mayavadi sannyasi, So sannyasi's heart became filled with Krishna prema, unlike ever before. He heard the chanting of the holy name. Remember, Mayavadi sannyasis, they don't like to dance. They want to deeply study Vedanta. That's how they were perplexed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a sannyasi and he was dancing on the streets. So they asked him, why are you dancing? Why don't you spend your time in studying Vedanta? Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a long dialogue about that. So here, this Mayavadi sannyasi, which was internally where he was dissatisfied with Mayavadi philosophy, when he saw the sannyasi, see his previous, that he was a Ramana Manjari. Remember, I just told you about that. And that triggered back to Krishna consciousness. So from that moment, the sannyasi completely changed himself, and he traveled to Vrindavan because he heard about Krishna. So he went to Vrindavan, but also he yearned to see Navadvipa Dharma, because that's where he learned. This particular Vaishnava was singing the glory of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he developed a great inquisitiveness and great interest, eagerness to visit Navadvip Dhama. And then he heard about Babaji. That's why he came to Babaji's ashrama. From where he heard the glories of Babaji, and now he decided to surrender himself to Babaji. Babaji, feeling himself unqualified, look at Babaji's Danya Bhav, tightly embraced this saintly sannyasi and bathed him with tears rolling from his eyes. Look at the Guru, recognizing his previous disciple, rolling from his eyes, and then invited him to stay with him. These days, very hardly ever see, a prospective Guru himself paying obeisances to somebody who has not yet become his disciple, because he recognized him as a Vaishnava. That's a true spiritual mastery. Okay, now we are going to see the questions and answers. So Babaji, the sannyasi, next day, he was waiting for an opportunity to ask question, but he very patiently waited that Babaji finish his daily routine. So then Babaji actually asked, inquired from him, do you have any question? So now we are going to begin to hear some fundamental questions that he begins with, that series of questions. It will go many chapters actually. So first and foremost question he asked, what is the soul's true duty? It seems like a simple question, right? But there's a great deal of depth in it. Babaji is going to categorically begin to answer these questions. So his other question was, why do it's a very logical question. Why do different teachers give different explanations of the truth of religion? Is there a one religion? Because in this world we see nowadays so many religions are there. Okay, so his question was, why there are so many religions? If there's one supreme God, there ought to be one religion. Why different kinds of thinking and different religions are there? Okay, so if there is only one truth, why do the philosophers not agree in their opinions? Very logical questions. And then while he was asking these questions, of course, this book is really very descriptive. It's typically very hard, I experience, to prepare PowerPoints, to grasp that and put it in this kind of PowerPoint format. It was very challenging for me. It's very difficult. It took many hours to read a given chapter actually, to condense and to extract the essence of the chapter. Because so many sentences and paragraphs are describing everything, so I had to really distill it, So what you are seeing in this PowerPoint is the condensed essence of what transpired actually. So while he was asking these questions, Babaji was giving answers also actually. So this question that you see in the point 2, it took place afterwards, okay? So while Babaji was answering the above questions, Babaji was mentioning Vastu. Vastu means a thing. And the sannyasi became perplexed. What is he talking about thing? What is a thing actually? So now he's asking, what is the thing? What is Vastu that you're talking about? So here now Babaji is answering questions, okay? So Babaji begins answering first with an explanation of the truth of religion, because this question was, why there are so many religions? And if truth is one single truth, why it is being explained differently by different people, So he's answering that question and he's giving some analogy. And I really love the analogy. If that analogy really answers the main point here, And then what is Vastu or thing? So here, look at the yellow box, okay? It is the living at its constitutional position to be an eternal servant of Krishna. We are part and parcel. We are spirit soul. We are not this body. And we are part and parcel of Shri Krishna. So that makes it imperative, very obvious that we are meant to serve the Lord. And the soul is hungry for serving the Lord, because he is the marginal energy of Krishna and a manifestation of simultaneously one, but with and different from the Lord. Veda Abheda Tattva. We are also Satchit Ananda, so is Krishna. But Krishna is Vibhu, unlimited, whereas we are limited. We are tiny atomic size. So what happens when we turn our face away from Krishna because of our selfish interest? That's the reason why we came in this material world. Some of the questions that I gave you in introduction and the first inauguration class, we are seeing the answer to that very first question. Why did we come here? Because we developed some selfish desires away from Krishna. That's why immediately we become trapped by Maya Devi and her 3 weapons, 3 modes of material nature, and that's why we landed in material world. But material world is actually a training school to teach us that this is not our true world, like fish out of water. Our real world belongs to Krishna Loka. So forgetting Krishna, the living entity has been attracted by this external feature from time immemorial. There is no finite time, no beginning, no end. Therefore, the illusory energy, this Maya, gives him all kinds of misery in the material existence. When Maya is the servant of Krishna, her thankless job is to let this guy, conditioned soul, know that what he's came here for his material happiness, there is no real happiness in this world. A lot of things you are already aware of it because you are all very, very advanced students, so you already know, but this is where the starting place takes place. Okay? So now we'll see the Babaji's answers, okay? First, the direct answer, and then Babaji is going to explain with a wonderful, wonderful analogy, which will bring home. Immediately we'll understand with that analogy. The original nature of the thing, it's eternity. That's the fundamental thing. We are not bodies still. Body is temporary, perishable, but the soul is eternal. It is its changed nature is temporary. So when we come to this material world, is because original nature is to serve Krishna. But now we have forgotten Krishna because he came under the control of Maya. So that is this particular situation we have, this material world is our temporary nature. So that's what now we are being taught. What is the difference between eternal, Nitya Dharma, souls, okay? Souls Dharma. Our spirit soul Dharma, Nitya Dharma, eternal Dharma is to serve Krishna. But when we come into material existence, then temporarily become our Dharma, that is the Nimitika Dharma. So that, and we think in that illusion, this temporary duties, we think that is our eternal duty. Oh, we are now, I'm an IT person, I'm an engineer, I'm a doctor. That is my duty, that is my religion, that is my Dharma. No, that's temporary. No. So just give an example. So in Sanskrit, the temporary is called Nisarga. But one who knows the truth knows the difference between eternal and temporary nature. So one has to understand that. One who does not know the truth thinks that temporary as eternal. That we are engineer, doctor, that thing, that is our identification. Oh, I'm American, I'm Indian, I'm male, I'm female, like that. That is not really eternal. Soul has no sex. One who does not know the truth thinks that the temporary nature, Nisarga, is eternal. So now Babaji gives a nice example. Look at that very smart way to explain a very dense, dry philosophy that can be easily understood. It is like the analogy of water and ice. The water is the eternal nature of that, okay? But what happens in certain conditions, it becomes ice. But ice is a temporary, because ice is going to melt, eventually turn into water. Even water turns into the steam, vapor, but vapor also eventually going to have to condense. So water is the eternal nature of its dharma, So water has the original nature of being a liquid. But in certain circumstances, it becomes solid, may now become solid ice. This is changed nature of the water. But the changed nature, the ice, is not eternal. It's gonna have to melt, since it is always temporary. But water remains water. The original nature of water remains. Although it is dormant in an ice formation, water is there in the ice, but it's in a dormant form. The same is like here. when we came into material existence and we think what we are American, we are Indian, we are this, we are that. We think that is what our true identity, but that is not really I. So that I, quote unquote, is misidentification of ourselves. And this is my wife, this is my children, this is my house, this is my car, this is my country. That is not what is mine. Mine means Krishna is mine, mamatva. So that I and mine conception is in the material platform, we think like that. But when we come to the spiritual platform, then we really, who am I? I belong, I am the servant of Krishna, and Krishna is mine to serve him. We will hear a lot more. Okay, so in this answering all these things, Babaji was talking a lot about thing, vastu. So he became perplexed and he asked, what are you talking about, vastu? What is the thing that you're talking about? He knew what is a thing, but in this regard, in this context, he wanted to know, Babaji, what are you talking about, vastu? So now Babaji defines vastu. Actually, vastu, the root word vasa. Vasa means that he is residing there, that he is there, he is existing. So vasa derived from the word vasa. Bas, hum baste hain, yahan baste, right? Nahi kehte hum Hindi mein? Yeah, I reside here in America or India or Delhi or Bhubaneswar, like that. So that's where you are residing. That I vasa, that I stay, I live there. So vasa is that which exists, and that affix to, but, meaning but. So now we are going to learn what is the significance of but. So there are two kinds of vastu, two kinds of things. Things that exist in reality, spiritual truth, and the goals in life, and that do not exist in reality, which are material objects, mistaken belief in illusion. So that's the two kind of things are there. There are eternal things and there are material things, imagined things. And then vastu applied to three things existing in reality. The Supreme Person. So what is reality? Three. One is the Supreme Lord, he eternally exists, and so are we as individual souls. Then the third aspect is this Maya. Under the influence of Maya, with our three modes, we think temporary as eternal. So knowledge of the relationship that exists between three, that is pure knowledge. So now that is what Babaji is going to enlighten this visiting sannyasi. So in a nutshell, some very basic fundamental question that Babaji answered in a very, very nice way. The fundamental, now we learned here what is eternal, what is temporary. Eternal function of the soul, eternal duty of the soul is Nitya Dharma. Temporary, that we think eternal under the influence of Maya, is this Naimittika Dharma. And the whole next chapter we are going to discuss next week. That is what about that, why Naimittika Dharma must be relinquished, must be given up. Why it is so, why it is temporary, and it's very, very troublesome that we must give up, that we will see that. And that's why I'll point out to you that why, and I was really shocked in a fundamental way, this book committed a gross error. This is when we talk about karma, vikarma, akarma, and there the author describes akarma as bad. But we know from Bhagavad Gita's teaching and Srimad Bhagavatam, akarma, because karma brings, there's always every karma, every action, there's a reaction. Okay, of course, vikarma, there's again Vedic injunction, is a bad karma, that we all know. But even karma that is done under the Vedic injunction, that is also reaction. Why? Because it gives good rewards. And for the reward, we have to come back in the material world. But then there's a akarma. Akarma has no reaction because that's a Krishna conscious activities. So how could that be bad? They're describing in this book. I was really shocked like anything. Please, Srila Prabhuji, please study that portion of it and explain to me, maybe it's an apparent, but it clearly says akarma is bad. Bhagavad Gita teaching says very clearly, akarma is a Krishna conscious activities. We will see in that chapter when we discuss, and the lesson 5 we'll see. Okay, so let's take a break. That is what critical thinking. What you read, you have to always, mind should be always alert. Think about it, what you're reading. Then you will know. One minute. Okay. So now we go to the lesson 3, and that is Jiva's eternal nature is Nitya Dharma. So now Babaji is going to explain much more greater detail about this Nitya Dharma. And lesson 4 we'll see, not tomorrow, but day after tomorrow, is the temporary nature that we must be relinquishing, we must give up. And that is Naimittika Dharma. So let's first hear about the eternity of all the soul's Dharma. So the Babaji is going to answer the remaining 3 questions, 3, 4, 5. So he's going to answer 3 and 5 first. The 4 he will ask later, okay, afterwards. So he's not answering the same sequence that they were asked. So the question 3 was, how can the atomic size soul's eternal nature be pure and perfect? You will learn the size has nothing to do with it. A huge fire and the spark of fire have the same kind of potential. Okay? So here the soul that Babaji is going to answer very nicely. So this sannyasi was perplexed, was kind of having confused that why this atomic size soul could be eternal, pure and perfect. And this other question was question 4 was, if the soul in its nature is created at a certain point, of course, soul, when it was created, it's time immemorial. There is no finite date that is known. But still there is an presumption that it must have been created at some point in time, right? So if soul is created in some point of time, then how could it be eternal, always exist? The soul nature is created at a certain point in time, then how can his nature be eternally existing, past, present, and future? Very interesting question. Okay, and that he's going to answer after he answered the question number 5. The question number 5: isn't the state of deeply ecstatic spiritual love revealed by Lord Chaitanya? So now the fundamental question is difficulty. Why he got disillusioned in Mayavadi philosophy? Because Mayavadi teaches that the Supreme Brahman is actually Nirguna Nirakara. It has no qualities, no attributes, and it has no form. But here in Vaishnava philosophy, Supreme Being has a definitive form. Okay, so that's what he's asking. Very fundamental question. Isn't it the state of deeply ecstatic spiritual love that he saw personally witnessed in that Vaishnava visiting, that he saw dancing in the street, singing the glory? So he himself developed that kind of joy within himself, in his heart. So that ecstatic spiritual love revealed by Lord Chaitanya, why is different from the state of merging in the Supreme Brahman? Because Mayavadi's goal is to merge with the Brahma Jyoti, the bodily effulgence, impersonal effulgence of the Supreme. That is Shankaracharya's main teachings, right? This proposed theory of impersonal monism. So that is also a fundamental question. So Babaji is going to answer at a great length, and I'm going to summarize briefly main point, main argument. So Babaji's categorical response. He's answering question number 3, that why is this atomic size soul is eternal on all these qualities of the soul. Even though being atomic in size, the soul nevertheless perfect, pure, and eternal. The analogy of fire and the multitude sparks emanating from it, so that you can understand a huge fire and little tiny spark coming out. The spark also has a potential to burn things. The same, the atomic size soul has also the characteristics of Chit Ananda of the Supreme Being, but in a limited way, just like the spark. The soul's eternal nature is to be conscious. There's the fundamental quality of soul. The symptomatic presence of the soul you cannot see, but the consciousness we can see that. When the body is conscious, that means the body is living, the soul is in it. But when the body is dead, the whole consciousness completely disappears. So which benefits, so soul's eternal nature is conscious and to love, which manifests as devotional service into Lord Krishna. So when it is conscious, that consciousness is what? Not the kind of consciousness you and I define. When we are really conscious, we must become Krishna conscious. We must develop love of God. That is the true consciousness. That is what Babaji is emphasizing. And the soul's true states of existence, in its pure state, in Krishna consciousness, he is the servant of Lord Krishna. But when it is in impure state, material consciousness, then he is bonded in material existence because of forgetfulness of Lord Krishna. As a result, the soul comes in contact with, as soon as we forget Krishna, as soon as we turn our face again away from Krishna, immediately Maya takes control of us with the three modes of material. Then we become conditioned soul, and that's the its consciousness is now contaminated, now become dirty, because now it becomes material consciousness. So now it must be purified. So there are three different conceptions of soul's nature in the material world. Now listen very carefully. We are talking about the material world. So there is the eternal material world. The soul is eternal. Soul doesn't change. It comes in material consciousness. That temporary nature. So that is its temporary nature. Like the water, when it's frozen, it becomes solid. Liquid becomes solid as ice. But that is just a temporary. But in the material consciousness, we think that the water must exist only as ice. But that's in reality, it is not, right? So that is the second aspect. One, there's eternal as a liquid, temporary as an ice or vapor, water vapor. And third, the nature that contradicts the eternal nature, sometimes we see things when we are not properly educated in that, not properly realized, then sometimes temporary things which really looks like eternal, like permanent, but in reality it's not. Only in materially polluted mind we think this is permanent, that we are here to enjoy all it is there, just become happy. Masti maro, ये सब बिल्कुल temporary है. But mind, when the soul becomes materially contaminated, then we think that is our eternal nature. So that is the third aspect of it. All these things are going to be greatly elaborated further, okay, in the subsequent chapters. So now Babaji is going to answer. This is the fifth question. Yeah. Excuse me. So now, Babaji, now the question is this one, very important question. The fifth question. Remember, the fourth question is not answered that. He's going to answer after this. And this question was very important because this Mahavadi Sannyasi, he was taught Shankaracharya's monism philosophy. Okay, and that the Supreme does not have a guna, does not have a form, nirguna nirakara. But then he saw in that aspect there is no real joy, happiness. The soul is not happy in that. But when he saw the Vaishnava dancing, so that immediately he could relate the same kind of joy that developed in his heart too. So now he's asking, so that kind of spiritual ecstasy, this great bhava that he experienced, why it is not there in that impersonal philosophy, So Shankaracharya, the incarnation of Lord Shiva, is a perfect. So now when as soon as the word Shankaracharya, look at the dramatic thing that happened here. Unlike, because we know that how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu criticized this monistic philosophy in Mayavadi. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that Sunle Mayavadi philosophy sarvanasha hoye the. If you hear Mayavadi philosophy, that will be the disaster for us, right? Prabhupada also in so many purports we hear also. But this Babaji, when he heard Shankaracharya, he said that Shankaracharya is the greatest Vaishnava because he is Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva is the greatest Vaishnava. We should never forget that. So Babaji is pointing out the truth in that. Shankaracharya, the incarnation of Lord Shiva, is a perfect Vaishnava, Acharya, as honored by Lord Chaitanya himself. This is what the great thing that we are learning. Even Lord Chaitanya glorifies Shankaracharya. He is an Acharya. So why, real question, why would Shankaracharya teach this monist philosophy? Even the Shankaracharya himself is a great devotee. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. That is Shankaracharya's bhajana. Clearly indicates Mudambata. So Shankaracharya himself is a great devotee of Krishna. So why did he teach that? And that is where the perplexity exists. So here Babaji is also pointing out that. So why did Shankaracharya came? Because at the time he came, this Buddhist philosophy was prevalent. And Buddhism negates the Supreme Being. In fact, Buddhism does not believe in Vedas also, So this is called voidist philosophy. Everything is void, Shunyavada philosophy. A Buddha had destroyed the Vedic teachings. Lord Buddha, because he discarded Veda, because in the name of Veda, the Brahmanas, all this, there's a animal killing was rampant. So that is the reason Buddha came to remove the Vedic scriptures. That was a wrong misunderstanding of that. Basically, he did not, but he did not say to the people. The Vedas did not criticize. He criticized the people's wrong understanding of the Vedic scriptures. But nonetheless, that in the name of Vedas, the animal killing sacrifices was rampant. That's why so now Shankaracharya came to restore the Vedic scriptures. So Vedic teachings were destroyed, and then Varnashram Dharma was also gone. That. So Buddhism denied the soul's true eternal nature, as well as the existence of the Supreme Lord. In fact, my sister-in-law took me once and forced me to attend this. They have this 10-day meditation course, So it's because of her respect for her. She was my sister-in-law, my wife's sister. So I attended this 10-day meditation course. And because I always carry with my Bhagavad Gita. So immediately they took away my Bhagavad Gita. And I was horrified. So they don't believe in God, anybody like that. Shankaracharya came to re-establish the Vedic authority, but impersonalism. So however, about the state of existence that is superior to impersonal liberation, Shankaracharya is totally silent. Babaji is pointing out that. And that is the confusion. Why Shankaracharya himself was a great devotee. Why did he teach this monist philosophy? There is a mystery, actually. Shankaracharya is silent. After showing the true path, he did not reveal anything more about the secrets of Vaishnava religion. Shankaracharya knew the true path of devotional service. The Bhaja Govindam that he composed that poem, Bhajana, that itself tells you that he was a great devotee of Krishna. So he knew the Supreme Being as Krishna. So why did he teach something totally different? That's a mystery. Knew the true truth of devotional service to attain the Supreme Person. Prabhupada answers that because Lord Shiva, who incarnated Shankaracharya, Lord Shiva wanted to bewilder those demonic personalities. to attain the Supreme Person, but revealed nothing further about the secrets of Vaishnava religion. Being one with the Supreme Person and attaining love for Him are the same thing, but described kind of differently. You know, merging with the Supreme, it has, in a two-way you can understand that. Here, Shankaracharya's teaching is merging with the Brahman effulgence is not the kind of understanding of Vaishnavism. Merging with Krishna in love of God, love of Krishna, that is acceptable. So that's what Babaji is pointing out. The three things exist eternally. The enjoyer, that being enjoyed, and third, the way enjoyment is being obtained. Look at how philosophically Babaji is explaining these three things. If oneness is defined as the soul's pure state and free from any contact with matter, then it is welcome, oneness. Okay. However, the Mayavadi philosophers of Shankaracharya refuse to accept the existence of more than one spiritual entity. See, Mayavadi says that Brahma, they don't recognize Para-Brahma. There's only one Brahma. Either we as the individual soul is a Brahma or the Supreme. So they say it's the same Brahma. And that when that Brahma comes under the influence of Maya, then we become this Brahma. You know, that's what they talk about. So they neglect, they don't have any concept that there is a Supreme Brahman, and that Supreme Brahman does not come under the influence of Maya. The fundamentals of Mayavadi philosophy, there is only one Brahman, they think. And that Brahman, when comes in Maya, then we come into material existence. So Mayavadi philosophers of Shankaracharya refuse to accept the existence of more than one spiritual entity. They say that Brahman stays aloof from matter as long as it remains one and undivided. And they think that the eternal, pure and spirit form is the manifestation of Maya. So they think that Brahman is also the manifestation of Maya, which is totally wrong. So now D part, when a person gives great respect, so now at that point, the description in the book, immediately that Mayavadi sannyasi was hearing that, immediately decided he wanted to become a Vaishnava. So he was wearing this Mayavadi sannyasi, this dress. He wanted to immediately given up that. So Babaji said, wait, don't worry, don't be in that hurry. Outer garment has nothing to do with it. You need to purify your own inner consciousness. The outer garment is just outer garment. That has no significance to it. So he said, when a person gives great respect to his outward garment, it shows he does not give great attention to the condition of his heart. Your heart needs to be purified. You know, your heart needs to be renounced of all material aspect of it. There's only one religion in the soul. One religion in the soul, and that religion is what? To develop love of God. So even in Islam, they say develop love of God, Allah. Christianity also says love of Jesus Christ. Every religion has underlying theme is develop love of God. So in that regard, there is only one religion, but they express in a different way. So that was the answer to the question of Mayavadi, the sannyasi, that if there's only one religion, why there are so many religions? If there's only one truth, why they are being explained differently by different kind of people, different people? So Babaji has answered that. So at this point, the saintly sannyasi fully surrendered. So now he was fully convinced and became his disciple. Pure love of Krishna is the only Vaishnava religion. So when we say Vaishnava, we chant Hare Krishna. We chant the holy name. We chant the name of the Lord. In Christianity, the same thing. They have these rosary beads, right? They also chant. Muslims also, they chant. So that is the only religion, but they call it differently. But there is no difference. Vaishnava means, in fact, Babaji defines what is Vaishnava. Vaishnava means one who chants Hare Krishna, who chants Krishna. Now, Krishna is the supreme being. He has many, many names. Allah, Jehovah, They are all different names of Krishna, but there is only one supreme being, and you develop love by what process? By chanting that holy name. So in that regard, there's only one religion. There's no reason why religion should be different for different languages, countries, and people, although it may have different names. So Babaji explained very nicely here. So I just summarized there. It was just the blow-up form, left and right forms there. Now he's answering the final question. He said, if soul was created some point in time, we don't know when, time immemorial, but nevertheless must have created at some point. So if it's created at some point, why its eternity is there, past, present, future. So he said, if the soul in its nature is created at a certain point in time, then how can this nature be eternally existing, past, present, and future? Very fundamentally, Babaji answers question, and that is really very, very nice. Because in material, in spiritual world, in material world, we have past, present, future. But in spiritual world, there is no past and future. The present is eternal. Please understand, listen very carefully. Present is eternal. Always there is no past, no future. Everything exists eternally. So Babaji is saying, the three divisions of time, past, present, and future, refers to material time only, which is within the realm of Maya. Only in this material world we have past, present, future. But in the spiritual world, the past and future do not exist. Rather, there is the eternal present. Even though there is a morning, afternoon, evening there for Krishna's pleasure, but there is always present all the time. It's discussed as present. Whenever Krishna talks about, that is eternal present. A Vaishnava is one who, without offense, chants the holy name. See the definition of Vaishnava? And that applies to Christianity, Islam, Jewish, all religion say they develop love for God. And then all religion, they chant their, whatever the name they call the God, Supreme God, they chant. So in that regard, there is no difference from what we call Vaishnava. We also chant, but we call our Supreme God Krishna. And Krishna is the holy name. So that is the Vaishnava religion, is the only religion that exists in reality. We may call it different names. Hare Bol. Hare Krishna. Hello. So you must have a lot of questions now.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu Dandotana. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Wonderful starting. Okay, with so many very, very strong questions. Okay, which were like there in our minds. Okay, which has been asked. What can we say, Prabhu? That's all. We are very fortunate to hear, first of all, these questions. These questions were like it was there in the heart. Okay, but we are going to get very straight answers. Yeah. Wonderful, Prabhu. I was not expecting such a very, very fundamental questions. Yeah. And in a very strong way.
This is beginning. These questions are going to be discussed at great length in all the subsequent chapters.
Sometimes there was a challenge answering these questions. Why Adi Shankara has not told. Okay, if you think that you are correct, then Adi Shankara itself, because in the entire southern India, I'm part of southern India, Prabhu. Okay, all are followers of Adi Shankara, 99%. Yeah. So why Adi Shankara has not told something like this? If you think it is correct, then it is very difficult to answer. Okay, we could answer with the knowledge, whatever you shared and Sharad Prabhu has shared, few other acharyas shared. But now this is going to be very different. It is because we are going to get the answers from the straight away. It is not even Prabhupada. Prabhupada's spiritual matters, spiritual master has written it. Okay, it's going to be very authentic information for us, Prabhu. Like choosing this Jaiva Dharma definitely is not a easy thing, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Remember, it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. All these aspects are greatly going to elaborate throughout Jaiva Dharma. And we are going to learn a lot more about this philosophy, the monist philosophy, we will know that. And how Babaji explains that, we will know that. Okay? Yeah.
Being a part of, I'll just only one point, Prabhu. Maybe you don't need to answer this question, Prabhu. Okay, now. Okay, being the part of the southern country, southern India, and majority of the people follow the Shaivism, Prabhu. I used to think myself, okay, I used to think myself, see, Adi Shankara is a very, very great scholar. There is no doubt in that. Okay, he is an incarnation of Lord Shiva. He's incarnation of Lord Shiva. Okay, so I used to think myself, when he is such a great scholar, very intelligent and Pradama Vaishnava, why could not convert everybody into Vaishnava? What is stopped him? Okay,
there's a mystery. That's what I told you. There's a mystery.
So I used to think that. Okay, see, he has written so much. Okay, and grammatically everything is perfect. Okay, there is can't be any other scripture or any other thing which is written by someone else can't be more perfect than what he has written. And at the age of 8 years or 9 years, he started writing. He started giving.
He became a very scholar, and he lived only up to age 32 only. Remember,
34, but yes,
32 or 34, whatever it is.
34.
In that, listen, he walked all over India, India, Himalaya to Kanyakumari, all the way. So he was a great personality, no doubt about it. And that's why Babaji here glorifies him. He was the greatest Vaishnava because he is Lord Shiva himself.
Yes.
The question is, why did he teach monist philosophy when internally he knew who Krishna was there, right?
We were hearing and listening
mystery.
bits and pieces, Prabhu, but now we are going to have the very great philosophy, Prabhu. Very great understanding. Not
Maybe
I won't call
he
it
came because he wanted
to increase our faith.
He wanted to point out the fallacy of this Buddhism, you know. So his task at that time was to restore the faith in Vedic scriptures, and that is supreme being. That he wanted to establish that, you know.
I have only one question, Prabhu, in all presentations. That is, I think, slide 2 or 3. You said like here Bharatavarsha and some Meru Parvatam, something mentioned, Prabhu. I have not understood that particular diagram properly, Prabhu. Maybe you may explain at some point of time, Prabhu.
Yeah, we will come across that. No, we'll come across.
Okay.
I will explain later.
Okay. That's all. Short. Thank you.
Let me take the question first. But that time, Bharat Varsha, Bharat means India. It's like a whole. Was India at that time, even up to the point of Pandavas, Yudhishthira Maharaj. That time also was all entire earth was India. Actually, you know?
Okay. Entire world is India. Okay.
Is one of the 9 regions of Jambudvipa. Okay. Other questions? Anybody?
Yeah, Prabhuji, I have just a question I'm trying to understand. Because the question was, if soul has come to existence at certain time, then how the eternity of the soul, right, Prabhuji? So that answer I did not see that. I'm not able to see that. Or still we'll be doing that.
Yeah. We'll see all these points. I can further clarify. No doubts will remain.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Okay, we will see. We'll see. Any other points?
Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranam, Prabhuji. Are you comfortable, Prabhuji? May I ask?
Yes, Mataji, please.
Yeah, Prabhuji, if that Mayavadi sannyasi, we said is a fictional character or Babaji, but you also said that he was disciple of Pradyumna Brahmachari.
Now, here in the fictional story, the imaginary story that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur introduces this philosophy through in this story format, what is pointing out that he was actually just like Babaji was a Manjari, Ananga Manjari. This particular sannyasi was also a Manjari, Ramana Manjari, but in this imaginative story actually. Okay, but the point is that you don't develop love of God unless you have done this thing bhakti in the previous life. The point is that actually we all see, we are all of you are in this bhakti platform came. You must have done some, you must have begun this in previous life. Some mercy of the devotee must have taken place previously. You know? So here also, but then the question arises: if he was in Ananga Brahmana Manjari, how did he become Mayavadi Sannyasi in this particular lifetime?
Yes,
That's a
yeah,
question.
that was
That's
question,
a
yeah.
question that arose in my mind actually. But the point is that he was, see, by his asking questions, the philosophy of Krishna consciousness is being revealed. Just like Arjuna was put temporarily in that illusion, so the Bhagavad Gita's teaching could be revealed by Krishna. You know, so sometimes these devotees become and kind of an instrument actually. You know, so that is the way, that's example by which Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is explaining that thing to my mind, that is how it happens. Lord's own devotees, they become his instrument, however the way Lord wanted to use his students, his devotees, you know, so that we could be enlightened by that, you know. So they purposefully, they come under illusion and to so reveal, the Lord gets the way to reveal that knowledge to all of us who are ignorant. That is the way I interpret it.
That means to refute Mayavadi philosophy, he is representing.
Exactly, yes, exactly.
Raman
So he
Bhattaji.
was shown as in the Mayavadi philosophy, but what are the fallacies and all these things by his own example that is revealed through this example that is shown here. You know?
Yes, Prabhuji.
And
Otherwise,
Guru immediately recognizes the disciple. Even the disciple is coming at an ignorant stage, but Guru knows his Siddha Deha. An advanced Guru immediately knows. So here, Babaji immediately recognized him. In fact, later lesson we'll learn. Babaji initiates him and calls him as Vaishnava Das. He gives the spiritual name Vaishnava Das. Nitisha Mataji, you had some question?
yeah, it
What
was
the
the same
point?
question, Prabhuji. I was in dilemma. So whether even if he is Raman Manjari, but still, how come he has become
Yeah.
Mayavadi? And why he could not get mercy of Lord? But it is yes,
But
he is the
this
instrument.
is my explanation. I think Sharat Prabhuji might come up with some other explanation. It's my explanation.
Mm-hmm. And about soul also, Prabhuji, soul is from Anadi, na? So we can't go date back for the soul origin. So it is Anadi, na? As per
Yes, and
definition.
we are eternally fragmented parts and parcel of Krishna. Mama Vamsha Jiva Loke Jiva Sanatan, that the verse is there. We are eternally fragmented part and parcel of Krishna. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. Any other point before I turn it over to Sharat Prabhuji?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Raksha Mataji, yes.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji, so wonderful class Prabhuji. प्रभुजी मुझे एक कंफ्यूज हो गया कि अगर आपने बोला कि जो फोर्थ क्वेश्चन का जो आंसर दिया बाबा जी ने कि सब रिलीजियन एक ही है, मतलब अलग अलग फॉलोअर्स अलग अलग है, मतलब फॉर एग्जांपल हिंदू नाम अलग है,
basic thing is the same, you know. Basic thing is what develop love for God, you know.
Yes, प्रभुजी, मगर अभी in current situation all are fighting like anything.
Yeah, that's
तो उसका कोई समझ क्यों नहीं रहे प्रभु जी?
They fight among each other on the name of religion. They fight
we are best. उसके अंदर कितने झगड़े होते हैं महाप्रभु जी?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and Krishna said if you don't surrender Jesus, then you are not going to be saved. Muslim also says that if you don't surrender Allah, if you don't become Muslim, then you, in fact, they recognize that you should be killed. Actually, they say that, you know. So
yes, Prabhu, there's so much confusion, Prabhuji.
Yeah,
So
that
much
is
confusion.
that is the fault of those so-called gurus in their religion, you know. That's not the teachings of God. God cannot say that to be killed. God never asks forcefully love from us. God will never do that.
Yes, Prabhu
By
जी.
definition,
प्रभु जी,
by
जो भगवत
definition,
गीता में है वही कुरान में है, वही
Yeah.
बाइबल में भी वही, मगर वो सब लोग इंस्ट्रक्शन जो है वो फॉलो नहीं करते हैं.
exactly,
प्रॉब्लम वो है.
exactly. You got it, Mataji. That's the point. That's ignorance, and that is Maya's influence. That's not a real religion, and that's what we are going to be taught, and subsequently that is Naimitika Dharma. That's not the eternal Dharma, Nitya Dharma. Okay.
तो प्रभु जी, कभी सब लोगों की कॉन्शियसनेस इतनी आएगी कि हम सब अच्छे से रह सके लाइफ में, पूरा विश्व.
Yes, इसलिए प्रभुपाद बोलते हैं कि, you know, just preach Krishna consciousness in the same way, and you know, they just develop love of God, and the method is given by chanting the holy name. You know, that is the way we ought to preach, you know, and don't get into arguments with other religion people. In fact, some of the question this book actually dares to go into that answer, like some of the Muslim criticism and everything. Then later on we are going to see that thing. But question is that in order to do that, we are not qualified, you know, so we don't get into that kind of controversy. Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Very nice and interesting class, Prabhuji. Thank you. One question is coming into my mind, that if Adi Shankaracharya is Shiva himself, and he is a great Vaishnava, then why his philosophy is known as Mayavadi philosophy?
Exactly, that's what we have been discussing just now. That's what we are just talking about, and this is just the beginning. Remember this, we are going to get deeper and deeper into it, and hopefully that we are going to learn more about it. Okay? But I just answered what I thought, why it is like that.
Okay, Prabhu.
See, that time when Shankaracharya came, Adi Shankaracharya came, as I told you, the Buddhism was rampant. So the Buddhism, Lord Buddha denied the existence of scriptures, Vedic scriptures, because in the name of the Vedic scriptures, because remember, Buddha himself is an incarnation of Lord Vishnu. We all know that, don't we? Right? Lord Buddha is an incarnation of Lord Vishnu. So how he himself is Lord Vishnu denies the existence of God. But he did that because in that particular time period, the people were misguided, you know. And Shankaracharya came, his first task, when Lord Shiva appears, Adi Shankaracharya, his first task to remove the false understanding of Buddha, Lord Buddha. See, God cannot be wrong. Lord Buddha cannot be wrong. But why did he say that thing? Is because of that. You know? Because the name of Vedic scriptures, there a lot of this animal sacrifice was prevalent there. He wanted to abolish that senseless violation, that kind of thing, that he wanted to remove that. That's the reason he did that. But people completely took it completely wrong in that, you know.
Yes.
Okay, now 5 minutes remaining. Sharad Prabhuji,
Prabhuji, it is called need of hour. उस टाइम need of hour होगा, मतलब वही that's why Buddha told कि हाँ वेदा, उसके टाइम पे वो चुप रह गए कि वेदा is right or wrong.
Yeah.
Because वो violence को stop करना चाहते थे.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah. So it is called need of hour.
He is incarnation of Lord Vishnu. He can never say that, you know. But he did it to teach the people, you know. Okay, Sharad Prabhuji, I'm sorry about the only few minutes I'm offering you, but see if you can. And remember, this question answer will continue in all this lesson. And remember, by the way, tomorrow there's no lesson. Okay, we will have our regular Sunday lecture. For you, it will be in the early morning. Sharad Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Regarding the first question, how Ramana Manjari became a Mayavadi sannyasi and all that. What you have answered is perfectly all right. This also happens like Bharat Maharaj. Bharat Maharaj was in the level of Bhava Bhakti, but still he fell down. Why he fell down? Actually, he didn't fall down. This was on the wish of the Supreme Lord. He wanted to teach people. All these things are happening because of this, like we are discussing about Lord Buddha. Lord Buddha is an incarnation of the Supreme Lord. But why he taught? Because the reason we have been told that is very true. Then why the Shankaracharya, he taught the wrong thing? Because he wanted to establish the Varnasrama Dharma and Hinduism and all that. And if he had said something different than Buddhism, then people would not have accepted. That's why he said something similar to Buddhism. That's why people accepted, and thereafter, you know what happened. And then the Vaishnava Acharyas came, and how Vaishnavism prospered all throughout India. So that is the main reason. Then we are talking of the Paramahansas. Now, in another context, you can you will hear about the Paramahansas also, like in ISKCON or in the Vaishnava Sampradaya, we have got the Tridandi Sannyasis. In Sankara Sampradaya, it is Ekadandi Sannyasi. And there are some Vaishnava Sampradayas who do not carry any danda, like the Ramanandi Sampradaya and many others. That's why it may be difficult to recognize who is a sannyasi, who is not a sannyasi. And those sannyasis, they are known as Paramahansa sannyasis. Now, the Paramahansa, what has been discussed, explained today, and this Paramahansa sannyasi, the connotations are different. It should be taken like that. And then the Babaji is also. Like this Babaji, this word is not found in any scripture, but it has been coined later on. But the way it is used in our society, that in a very respectable way, addressing a saintly person. Examples of this are Sri Gaurakishar Das Babaji, the disciple of Jagannath Das Babaji, who was a disciple of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and Gaurakishar Das Babaji, who was a disciple of Bhagavat Seva Babaji, who himself was a disciple of Jagannath Das Babaji, like this. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was a disciple of Gaurakishar Das Babaji. And here in Jaiva Dharma also we read the Gaudiya Vaishnava gurus like Premadas Babaji and Raghunath Das Babaji, even Sanatana Goswami during his time in the villages of Vrindavana, he was also known as the Elder Babaji. And Rupa Goswami, who was there at that time, he was known as the Chota Babaji, like this. Here we have to learn that, and then we learned about Nitya Dharma, as explained in the today's class. Nitya Dharma may be known by different names according to different country, race, language, everything. However, it is one, and it is supremely beneficial for everybody. And the ideal example of Nitya Dharma is Vaishnava Dharma, which is prevalent in India. And this should be understood by all, in which the Bhagavan Krishna or Satchidananda, the Supreme Lord, who is in our heart, he is worshipped. And for this reason, the great personalities, they have discussed about the divine love for the Supreme Lord. Since there is no more time, I'll stop here. Thank you, Prabhuji. We can talk more about this because all these things will be coming in expanded form in the subsequent classes, and all the doubts will get cleared about say Islam or even Buddhism or Christianity. All these things in some way or the other will come and all doubts will get cleared. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Since the time is up, and let's conclude the class. Rakshamata, somebody is going to do the.
Yes, Prabhuji, I will do.
I will.
Hare Krishna. Namaste Narasimhaya Praladadadahine Hiranyakashipurvakshaha Tilatankanakalaye Ito Narsimha Parato Narsimha Yato yato yami tato Narsimha Bahir Narsimha Hridaye Narsimha Narasimha Nadi Saranam Pravate Tava Kara Kamalavare Natha Adbhuta Shringar Dalita Kashipu Tanubringa Keshava